Colin and Samir recently posted an interview with Adam Mosseri, who's the head of Instagram. And as a creator myself, it was super interesting to just hear from creators what Instagram is thinking about in terms of creator lifespan, what things are working, how the platform has changed, and what's coming up next. Here are my top 5 takeaways from their podcast episode with Adam. And the last one is my absolute favorite takeaway. What about follower counts?
How important are follower counts?
Follower count is super important because you're going to have a much better chance of reaching anybody who follows you than anybody who doesn't follow you. So there's a really strong correlation between how many followers you have and how many people you reach. That said, they matter less today in a world where there is more time spent looking at recommendations before than they mattered 5 years ago. Now, you might say, stop leaning into recommendations, just focus on followers, bring back old Instagram. The issue with that is that the pie is smaller. Recommendations are driving more overall engagement.
So I personally spend probably more time on the recommendation side of Instagram than I do on my follower side. And that's just because as I look at a reel, as you scroll to the next one, it brings up a recommendation and not necessarily your follower right away. So I see this as your profile, the content that you make has to reintroduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do in as many different ways as possible. Not necessarily in every single post, but the bio on your profile. What does that say? What's the call to action at the end of the video or in the captions? How about those pin posts at the top of your profile? All of those things have to be reintroducing yourself so that if someone goes onto your profile, they know what you are about.
You come from a long form video is much less, because if you spend 20 minutes watching or 50 minutes watching a pod video, you're probably consuming a lot less content from friends, sending a lot less things to friends. It's a cool, amazing experience. So is going to the movies and watching a 2.5-hour film.
All right, so this point is really interesting because how often are you sharing an hour-long podcast with someone versus a quick 15, 30-second clip with somebody else? With my wife, I am only sending her short clips versus some business partners, I do send them full podcasts, but I also am well aware that the likelihood of them actually watching it is very low.
Huge ask to send someone like an hour-long video. That's a crazy ask, but to send someone like a 15-second reel on Instagram,
Totally.
it's an easy ask.
Yeah, it is a big ask to send someone an hour podcast versus just a short clip. If you are sending someone a podcast, give them either a quick takeaway or notes or a specific section to look at. So it's, hey, watch this at 12 minutes and 55 seconds because it's about XYZ. Doing that will increase the likelihood they actually consume your content. And then the last note for me, the clips for me are important because that just gives more exposure. That is a trailer to hopefully people to discover me and what I'm doing. If someone then watches the hour-long episode, at that point, we are friends. And probably if you made it to this point in the video, we're probably friends. So please subscribe because that would mean the world to me.
Some of the early success stories on Instagram from when I remember us building our career were a lot of the like meme accounts or the aggregator accounts. You recently made an announcement around Originality.
Controversial. So I do want to separate memes and aggregators.
Sure.
Because you can be an original meme creator. So the idea behind Originality is that we should make sure that more value, if we can, flows to the original creators that make something than those who find that content and then repackage it and aggregate it from other original content creators.
So me reacting to this video is actually part of the Originality versus aggregator meme or modifying the content. The regional podcast that Adam on the Colin and Samir show is amazing. You should go watch that. So my take on this is that it is an important part to be part of the conversation. You think news outlets are also giving their take of what happened about an event, and us as creators are also giving our interpretation of what is happening. And it's a nice conversation to hear that Meta is trying to find and locate the original creator for a content and give them attribution first. And is also implying that you have to give an original take. So this is my take at giving an original take. There's no reason why you should not take the added publicity or virality of another character and or post and then add your additional original take on that, adding value to it, giving your understanding, your interpretation, or maybe even just remixing it. You get the original virality from that post, but then also you can insert yourself into a conversation that is extremely relevant for whatever that original topic is.
That's a challenge that creators have with short form content, no matter where it is, building brand. If you're making long form content, it is difficult, but if someone chooses to spend 20 minutes with you, they will remember you tomorrow.
I agree to this point. If someone's watched a 20, 30, 45 minute, an hour video from you, they now know you, and it's all about how you can know and trust someone. This doesn't necessarily happen with one 15-second video, and here's what Adam had to say.
I don't know if I agree. Yes, if you were going to compare someone who watched one 15-second video end to end and one 15-minute 15-minute video end to end. So clearly you're going to have more memory, more affiliation with the 15-minute video. I don't know that means the average short-term creator has a harder time building a brand.
Ultimately, as Gary Vee would say, it is an and game and not an or game. Here's how I approach videos. The 15, 30-second reel clips are to get people into the top of the funnel. If any of that gets them into that 1-hour podcast mark, now I've really got them on the hook. So the short form videos for me, that's the bait. The hour podcasts are the hook where I can actually reel them in. Did I hook you? If so, give me a follow.
Everyone's always feels like they deserve more reach than they get, and sometimes that's the case. But one of the most important things to look at if you're trying to evaluate how your videos or anything is doing on Instagram, I would look at sends per reach. So of the people who saw it, how many of them sent it to a friend?
So this share concept is everything. I've been really trying to think about more of what is the most valuable content and what's the marker that shows that it's valuable. And most importantly, who is it valuable to? Though things that I share with my wife, like restaurant recommendations or things that we should take the kids, are very different than finance things that I share to some of my business partners. So the content that I'm making, does it teach something? Does it communicate something? And is it effective enough and concise enough where someone will want to share it, especially in a bite-sized form? My last takeaway is, how am I using all this information? Basically, we always have to be testing different formats, the editing styles, pictures, videos, carousels, all for maximizing. For me, it's what will get people to share the content the most. I am going to be completely experimenting on the next couple months of what actually generates the most shares. But what I am seeing right now on platform are different text on screen posts. So raw videos with then headlines with titles that just stay on screen so people know what they're talking about, or just the raw, like, here's what's happening, and then pointing your phone at things. That's working. I'm going to do a lot more of that in addition to some of these talking head shots. But as always, as Gary Vee says, it's an and game, not an or game. So happy testing. I hope you found that helpful. I really enjoyed that conversation. I will leave their full episode linked down below. Colin Samir, awesome content as always. I really appreciated that conversation. My name is Josh Baldovino. I'm a marketer and I'm a real estate investor. And so if you want more hot takes on marketing content like this, make sure to subscribe, follow wherever you listen to this too. And for algorithm's sake, the platform really thinks you would like this video next. So watch it, because let's see if they're right. Cheers, guys.